Hey everyone, welcome to Transient. I'm Eitan Reiter, and today we're going to recreate music by Madonna. This is a very interesting production. It's actually an homage for a legendary band called Kraftwerk. So we're going to start with the main beat. It starts with a classic 909 kick drum. Make sure it's playing in the right length. I've used Soundtoys Decapitator to get some saturation, Ableton's compressor for some punch, and a little bit of EQing. The bass line is made out of two different layers. One is this, and the other one is just that clicky sound to add some punch to it. The sound is based on a sawtooth wave shape, playing through a low-pass filter with a lot of resonance. I've used two modulation envelopes, both on the pitch and the cutoff, to add some punch. The project is of course available for downloading, and you can check out the full preset there. The second additional layer is a bit more simple. It's just a noise oscillator playing with a very short decay. This is where the bass gets a bit more interesting. It's got these resonance overtones. Now basically they're made out of a sawtooth playing through a bandpass filter with a lot of resonance, and I've actually had to set them one by one to get it to play just like the original song. The chain also includes a compressor to add some punch, a very short echo, and a tape to add some saturation. At some parts of the track there's even one more layer playing together with the bass, and this one is actually helping it sound even bigger. Notice the little EQ automation in the middle of the track. Next up, we're going to recreate the snare drum. The first thing I've noticed about it is that its length changes randomly throughout the track. This noisy sound is the core of the snare, and I've used LFO tool to add some punch to it. I've used a few plugins like Decapitator to get it to sound just right. Make sure to get the snare fills right. This one is a noise layer synthesized just in the right frequency that was missing. And a few more layers like this acoustic snare, and this one with a lot less punch. And here's what the full snare sounds like. Next are obviously the hi-hats. I've used a 909 hi-hat and got it to play at a very short length. And then I've added 3 more layers of hi-hats. And the 4th layer playing a much faster pattern for the climax of the track. Sometimes a good way to get your hi-hats to be more present in the high frequencies is to just add a 2nd layer of hi-hats on top. In many cases it can sound a bit more natural than just using an EQ on one hi-hat sample. Then a reversed crash and a crash. And then I've set the pitch to get it to sound right. Next is the famous vocal. This is what it sounds like before it enters the vocoder. This is actually my voice, but I've had to pitch it up to get it to sound like a woman recorded it. Here's the synthesizer that's controlling the vocoder. I've used Silent 1 to play a re-trigged sawtooth oscillator. The phase is being modulated by an LFO, and the LFO rate is being affected by the key track. The result is a sound that is a bit less smooth. Then I've used some amplifiers and EQing. And back to the vocoder sound. There's a noise gate, some EQing, a compressor and an amplifier to make the sound more stable. The vocal is actually playing in 2 layers. Here's the main vocal, and here's the 2nd layer that's being pitched down. For the vocoder, I've chosen Isotope's vocal synth and used the regular vocoder section. This guitar recording took a while to get right. Basically, just test out as many amps and cabinets as you can and you'll get there. Next are the leads. This synth sound is also made out of Silent 1. It's actually a pretty standard sawtooth with a low-pass filter, and what gives it its special effect is a wah-wah guitar pedal. Here's the main synth sound of the track. It's made from a sawtooth, and most of its character comes from the distortion and the phaser. The sound is being sent to a reverb using an auxiliary effect. This is what the auxiliary effect sounds like. As you can hear, a few of the other sounds in the track are going through that same auxiliary effect. This can sometimes be a great way to glue together between sounds, making them seem like they're all playing in the same space. Then I've added these chords, which are made from a narrow and slightly detuned pulse oscillator going through a low-pass filter. Almost the same sound with a bit of variation is being played at the end of the track. This sound is also playing in two layers. One layer is playing the original sound, and the other is that same sound only pitched down. Whenever a sound seems too small, you can add one or even more octaves to it to make it sound bigger. Getting back to this song being an homage for Kraftwerk, you can really hear the Trans-Europa Express resemblance in this pad. It's playing a pretty simple, slightly detuned sawtooth oscillator, and the LFO is controlling the pitch to give it that vibrating effect. The pad itself ends with a second layer, which is basically another slightly detuned sawtooth. In this case, the modulation envelope controlling the cutoff is what gives the sound its character. Last are some sound effects. The pad ends with this vinyl scratch sound. This one is probably my favorite sound of the track. It's very simple until you add the flanger on top. The key is to set the flanger's rate just right. I used an automation to do that, and it sounds very close to the original. There's another noise layer, which is playing together with the whole beat, and actually adding some nice low frequencies to the track. This is what it sounds like with the rest of the beat. And there's also a few little effects here and there, which make way more sense in the full context of the track. And last, this special laser sound, which is basically a simple sine wave with an LFO controlling the pitch at just the right rate and amount, with a very gentle beat crush effect on it. At the end of the track, the master channel is going through a low-pass filter. Here's the full reproduction. Quick reminder, the project file and the sounds are available for free in the link below. If there's a song you'd like us to remake or a technique you'd like to learn, please let us know in the comment section below. For more videos like this one, subscribe to our channel. See you next time.